Peace, peace, everyone, and welcome back to the post Maafa Reconstruction. We have a very special guest today by the name of Alfonzo Watkins. He has agreed to join us and give us his valuable jewels and his expertise. My name is Tahuti Forever. I am the architect of Melanation, which is a business focused around a social media app to uplift the melanated community. Miss Lizzie Woody, please introduce yourself.
Yes, sir. Good evening, everyone. This is Lizzie Woody. I am the public relations person with Melanation, and I'm excited about today's show. Pick up some great nuggets from Mr. Watkins, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, indeed. So we're here every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And today we are going to start off with a libation. Mr. Alfonso Watkins is gracing us with the libation.
Thank you. It is customary in African tradition that I ask the elders to speak. May I speak?
Of course, you may.
Thank you. Those of us who are descendants of the indigenous, native, and African human beings, we always start off any ritual or ceremonial gathering honoring the creator and our ancestors. So this is a normal thing. So a lot of times, depending on what your spiritual or religious association is, a lot of us really don't understand what libation is. But once again, it's just honoring our creator and our ancestors and nature. So the first
Ashe.
thing, Ashe, the first thing we must always do is give honor and praise to the master of the universe, Lord of the world, seen and unseen. We thank you for opportunity to live another day and be positive and productive traveling spirits. We thank you for creating us in your image and out of her likeness and giving us the breath of life and opportunity once again to have this spiritual experience. Second, we must
Ashe.
give honor and praise to our ancestors, male and female, who sacrificed blood, sweat, and tears so that we may enjoy some of the freedoms that we have here in this stolen land called America. And the third thing we must always do is give honor and praise to our grandparents, our great grandparents, our uncles, our aunts, our nieces and nephews who have lost their indigenous African and Native minds, attempting to navigate their way through this illusion of white supremacy and discrimination. And we ask all of these things in your many holy names, and we say Ashe.
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 Ashe. Thank you, family.
We really appreciate that libation. We now have another co-panelist here who's arrived. Miss Unity Unique, please introduce yourself.
Hey y'all, it's me, Unity Unique News Channel 555, and the founder of the Art of Forgiveness. And I'm grateful to be here with y'all. I took me a nap today, so just woke up and got on the gratitude room, and now here I am with my fam. So gratitude for having me here.
Ashe, Ashe, and
Ashe.
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 So we can be found at on YouTube at Melanation App. We can be found on Facebook at Melanation App. And if you feel it, the need or the calling to assist, you can send cash to the Cash App, which is Melanation App. Of course, it has a dollar sign in front. Let me go ahead and introduce the family to a brief introduction to the app itself.
The emergence of an inspired event is now on the move, requiring all hands on deck. So here is why you should share. We have substantially invested in a systematic approach to Black economics. Our mission is to empower and uplift our community, both online and in the physical world where birds fly. Interestingly, your monthly vote steers the direction of the company. Introducing Melanation, a cutting-edge TV and an internet platform It's making its way to the world stage with over 400 pages of state-of-the-art features. Features include movie streaming, a production studio for influencers where your production will be displayed through the television, a dating site that can be accessed through the TV, a Google Maps-powered satellite mapping system for registered Black-owned businesses and entertainment, making it easier for you to locate the community near you, and much more. We're bringing everything the community needs under one roof in order to build the proper infrastructure across the nation. Learn more on the Facebook page, family. The time is now for your participation.
That's a brief overview of the app itself. Keep in mind that the app is a tool that we're using to galvanize the community. We want to bring everybody, attract everybody to one location so that we have access to them. And the point is so that we can have our ears open and listen to the needs of the community. So this question is to the panelists, the reoccurring panelists. What is this live session about? So we're here every Wednesday at 6 p.m. And basically what I just explained is what this live session is about. It's an opportunity to speak to the family. It's an opportunity to listen and interact with everyone out here. We're here every Wednesday promptly at 6 o'clock, so you know where we are if you want to communicate with us. And this is not just talk. We intend on implementing any sound suggestions that help strengthen our community, help strengthen a systematic approach to melanated economics. We're listening, and we have the tools to actually make a change and implement these sound judgments and the sound concepts that people will be introducing to us. So that's what this session is about. And it's called the post-Maafa Reconstruction. The term Maafa is not generally understood by the general public. Maafa represents, well, it's Swahili and it means the great tragedy. But when we say Maafa, what we're speaking towards is the transatlantic slave trade. You know, there's different slave trades that happen as well that we're speaking towards. We're speaking towards systematic racism, Jim Crow laws, redlining. We're speaking towards any thing that the colonizers, colonialism in Africa, being colonized. We're speaking towards all those things under one term, which is the Maafa. Let me go ahead and switch over so we can see the actual website itself.
The direction of this community powered and all hands on deck. So here's why.
Yes, go ahead, please.
No, go on. I'm sorry, I interrupted. Go on.
No, go. I am completely ready to go. Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to add that, you know, we have a while before this app is completed, and this gives us an opportunity, as you said, to listen to people and let the community be a part of the build of this app, so that, you know, we're satisfying our needs as a community. So, and this is also to help introduce us to the community, because, you know, most people are not going to jump right at the very beginning. So we are here, as William stated, every Wednesday from 6 until 7. So we're looking for you to chime in and listen to what, you know, we're speaking of, so that you can be a part of as well.
This is true. Let me skip past here. Okay, so this is melanation.co, melanation.co. This is our landing page. As you can see, the app itself is not available as of yet. It's coming soon. We're expected to launch September 15th of 2027. This landing page does route you back to our Facebook page. We're on Facebook communicating with each other, trying to get best practices and implement best practices within our company. But every melanation starts with you. Melon Community is a powerful all-in-one platform designed to connect, empower, elevate a global melanated community. From working in business growth to content, events, and opportunities, every life is one equal ecosystem. Building for the community, powered by opportunity. Melanation is not just another social app. It's a digital nation where culture, commerce, and collaboration come together. Where there are a creator, entrepreneur, professional, or community leader, this is your home. Melon News is one of the foundational aspects of the app. A post-Maafa reconstruction instrument. The post-Maafa reconstruction phase begins with the narrative serenity. After centuries of displacement, extraction, and distortions, our first responsibility to reclaim our power to define reality for ourselves. Reconstruction cannot occur while our stories are being told by outsiders, filtered through hostile systems, or reduced to spectacle. A people disconnected from their own narrative cannot coordinate their future. Delegates are also another core feature. Melanation is a digital representation of the conscious community, placing the fate of the community back into the hands of the community itself. To achieve this, Melanation is governed by a committee of delegates chosen directly by the people. Leadership cannot be appointed from above, nor concentrated or isolated. Delegates are selected through a collective decision-making founded in staff by the community and empowered only to the extent that they produce measurable positive impacts. We utilize entertainment as a strategy gateway to reach the community at large. Culture draws us in, but consciousness keeps us together. Through shared stories, music, and creativity, we gather the people, transforming attention into alignment and participation into purpose. Galvanizing community is not a slogan, it's a mechanism of empowerment. So you can visit this website. It's melanation.co, melanation.co. So we're really speaking about our mission. We're just starting off. We're in the beginning stages. We have professional app developers designing the app so that it's done 100% professional. We have the best quality information to give out, best quality services. And we want you to understand that the app itself is not static. It's not going to be sitting in one location. We're going to continue to grow and expand the app based on the needs of the community. We have John J. McCain in here. Not sure who that is. Hello, sir. How's it going?
Things are going well. Okay. I'm appreciating the opportunity to tune in and listen to this conversation. Really looking forward to it.
Okay, we'll have you here on here. Generally, we don't have outsiders in the but looking at you, I decided to go ahead and let you in. If you do have any information that you want to share prior to the melanomics segment, where that belongs to Alfonzo Watkins, you can share that information. Melanomics starts in 15 minutes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm content to watch and listen. I'm here to learn today.
Okay. So how important is it to gather physically?
um, you well together physically. You get an opportunity to put faces to names and names to faces, opportunities, an opportunity to share, um, learn.
Yes, yes, indeed. Um, Being in the presence of one another is a different feeling than, being digitally or online. And it really does change our actions towards each other, not having that physical contact. Miss Unity?
Yeah, so when you come together, you grow together. And it also, for me, it changes something in my DNA. When I come and we're like in space and we're doing community together, it really does something to my inner me. I'm like, we climbing mountains together. We might be doing eating together. I'm gonna call it a picnic because I don't know where that word came from. So we're doing life together, and it is so important to do life together because also when you do life together, I don't even have to tell you when I need some almond milk. You just gonna know, oh, Unity needs some almond milk. Let me go drop this almond milk off because now we're speaking through our energies and they call that telepath, something like that. So when we come together, God, come on, let me tell you, it's church.
That being said, our Roots Life is having an event here, and Melanation is going to be here at part of this event. It is the 17th annual Fam Blam, and it's going to be held April 18th, 2026 at 11 o'clock to 6 p.m. at Hermosa Park. The address is 2030 East Southern Avenue, Phoenix, Arizona 85041. And I hope to see everyone there. We will be set up as a tent. We're going to go on stage and we're going to invite the community and explain to the community what the Melanation app actually is.
So spread the word, everyone.
And that brings us to this question here. How can the community help? So,
How can the community help? I could go some. The
okay,
community, how can the community help? The community can help by constantly spreading the word. If you're on social media, spread each other's content, what is going on, because then we reach. Even if one reach one, one reach one, one reach one, and we just keep reaching, and then it becomes this 360 return because people are going to know Found Blam is going on. Oh, okay. Melanation is going on Wednesdays. Okay. They're already prepared to be in that space because they're going to show up at this time and this.
Miss Unity, you're cutting out, you're cutting in and out. So I'm going to add to what you were saying. So the community, you're 100% right. The community can help because the power is always in the people. That's where the power is. We can do nothing without each other, I and I. So word of mouth, spread the news, spread the information, join the Facebook page, join the Messenger chat group, and when the app launches, download the app. It's free to download, it's free to use, and support the family. Just spread the word. And like Miss Lizzie Woody likes to say, is it's not just about individual people. We have different companies, black-owned businesses. We have different skill. We got different skill sets that can all help to perpetuate the upliftment of our people. So without the people, there could be nothing done.
Also, the community is the voice. The community is going to tell you what we need, what they think we need, and how we can basically work together to to satisfy those needs. So it really is kind of all about the community.
Yes, it is. It's melanation's founded by the idea that we're going to create a more solid community. That's what it's all about. We're servicing the community. We need the community to come show up for ourselves and respond. So, lastly, before we start the melanomics segment, what are the expectations? What do we expect to see? So, I
I know
believe that,
one is commitment. Like if you say you're going to show up, like be committed. And if you can't show up, like say, like I can't do it, but be committed to your word and let your word be sacred.
yes. So, the expectations that I also have, in addition to that, is we expect there to be challenges. We don't expect everything to be handed to us. It's been a very long time. We've been dealing with the same struggles, decades, centuries after centuries, and things have been getting better. We've made strides. We had leaders, and the situations came about where they weren't able to keep their movement going because it wasn't structured with a system that could really combat the systematic racism. All the people had to do was take out our leaders, and the whole movement falls apart. And that says that that structure wasn't sound. You shouldn't be able to have access to one individual and then lose millions of people, hundreds of thousands of people are no longer, in alignment anymore because you lost one person. So we are really focusing on a systematic approach. Um, Racism has been systematic, so the answer has to be systematic as well. So what we expect is we'll be receiving portions of the app within the next 6 or 7 months. We'll be able to download it. This will be a basic version of the app. And we're going to continue to enhance the app month over month until September 15th, 2027. At that point, the app is going to go live, and I expect the community to show up in drones, download the app, watch the movies, get entertained, and you will be informed because the app is a vehicle for information transfer. So we will have the Mellow News. You'll be able to understand what's going on within the company transparently, and you'll also be able to know the movements that we're doing, the businesses that we're creating, and you can upload videos to Mellow News to let us know what's going on in your community as well. This is not a one directional. This is something that it's an exchange of information.
And we
That
need to, oh, I'm sorry, go on.
it's on you. Go ahead, Mr.
No,
Woody.
what I was saying is we need to effectively promote the app, get the app out there so that people, you know, the, the entire community, of which, it's impossible, but knows that the app is out there and understand what the app is about, satisfying needs, working together, and just kind of looking at life as one,
Ashe.
if that makes sense.
Right.
Definitely. That being said, let me go ahead and introduce our special guest speaker here. His name is Alfonzo Watkins, USMC, MSE, LPC. Now, I'm not sure about those acronyms, so you might have to clarify those, when it's time. And he's a licensed professional clinical psychotherapist with over 30 years of experience providing treatment services for the youth, adult, and families in industries of education, from Head Start through college services, foster care, juvenile and adult corrections, mental health, and substance abuse services within the curriculum. the continuum of care through detox, residential, PHP, IOP, and OP programs. These experiences gives Mr. Watkins a unique background and expertise about the human experience. Mr. Watkins is Mr. Watkins is passionate about helping and supporting individuals. They navigate through the challenges through life during these critical stages of human development over the lifespan. Working within these situations, the industries has given Mr. Watkins tremendous insight into the impact of effects they have on the human development from the perspective of social determinants of health. The SDOH lays the foundation for the quality of life that every citizen in every society will have over their lifespan. Mr. Watkins has worked with diverse cultures, ethnic groups, and demographics through social economic statuses. This gives Mr. Watkins a level of experience and expertise range. His theoretical approach and orientation in providing spiritual and mental health treatments and services for individual clients and their families. Mr. Watkins have given the community organization and activists in his area human trafficking, guns and gun violence, drugs and substance abuse, health, mental health forums, and established a council of elders, community leaderships. Mr. Watkins is the founder of the Known Self LLC, founder of Know Thyself LLC, mental health behavior clinic. Mr. Watkins has a bachelor's degree in community education and a master's in educational psychology, focusing on the community counseling. Mr. Watkins is a veteran of the United States Marine Corps from 1988 to 1992. We definitely appreciate you on here. I have tremendous respect for you reading your history here. Can you tell us what are these acronyms, the USCMC and MSE? What are these acronyms?
All right, thank you, brother. It is truly a honor and a pleasure to be with you and your team and the Queens, and speaking to the listening audience. And I want to thank Baba McLean for joining us. The United States Marine Corps. I'm a veteran, so I put that in there because a lot of times as vets, we don't recognize spending 4, 8, 12, 20 years in the United States for service. It gives us a skill set that is unique. So I incorporate that into my life journey, being a United States Marine Corps. MSc is a master's in educational it's a master's in education science, but it's a master's in educational psychology with a focus in community counseling. And then the LPCP is a licensed clinical professional psychotherapist. So when you think about when you get your master's, you have to study to get a license. And so I was able to pursue and get the license, and it gives me an opportunity to be an independent counselor or independent psychotherapist.
Okay.
Yeah.
Understood.
Okay. With all that said, once I got that master's degree in educational psychology with a focus in community counseling, I basically had to re-educate myself. So once I got that, I became a student of Black African developmental psychology. And basically what that means is in the 60s, coming out of the 50s, going into the 60s, a lot of brothers and sisters that were going to school, getting these degrees, came to the conclusion we needed to create our own area of science to really do research and study what has happened to us through the Maafa. So once again, Brother Wade Nobles, Dr. Naeem Akbar, Francis Cress Wilson, Remember Ani, just to name a few, are individuals who kind of galvanized this movement to really start again looking at how do we begin to define and take ownership of controlling the narrative of what we have experienced in the context of the Maafa, and then but also just navigating through the different eras of the reconstruction of this ideal and experiment called America. So when we think about the Maafa, there's a saying in Black African developmental psychology: if as a descendant of those individuals who were kidnapped and enslaved and put in that inhumane condition, if your reality is not coming out of that human experience, you already have a mental health problem.
Ashe.
I'm gonna say it again. If you're not um, dealing or um, cultivating your reality out of the conditions of our ancestors, you already have a mental health problem. Every other ethnic group that is on the planet have a relationship with their ancestors. And so our experience, when you think about what we are attempting to do behind enemy lines, to a certain extent, we are unique in that context. Yes, slavery has been a part of the human experience since the beginning of time, but there's a reality to we, the descendants of those individuals who picked cotton for this country for 300 years. What was done to us was never done to any other group of people. So when we start having conversations about our condition, we are again a unique group of people because they transformed us and took us out of our original state of divine being. And we are still practicing or attempting to practice Sankofa to return back to that original state of being. So part of this in this conversation, when we talk about melanation, the reality of what those of us who are melanated people here in America are experiencing is part of what I'm going to attempt to have a conversation and talk about as well. Um, the science of the social engineering of the behaviors that we are seeing in ourselves, we have to start to recognize um, they have been masterful. And when I say they, this the systemic structural institutional racism and the practice of it in the context of capitalism, colonialism, imperialism, um, they have created uh, a reality where we don't see ourselves as a monolithic group. And what I mean by that is that we tend to divide ourselves up into these different ideological social constructs that are superficial. And what I mean by superficial, the construct of being a Republican, the construct of being a Democrat, the construct of being in these fraternities, the construct of us separating ourselves based on these degrees. It creates a division in us where we don't are unable to recognize that all of us are having the same historical reality and experience of our ancestors. And so part of, once again, of what I'm attempting to do when we start talking about creating a council of elders in a space where we can come into that room and there's one thing that we can agree on or attempt to agree on is that we have the same problem, regardless of what you call yourself, whatever you define yourself is, the issue that we can all agree on, we are all being impacted by the system of systemic structural institutional racism. And that should be our focus point. And so when as I facilitate or when I'm facilitating groups with the elders, I try to get the elders and then the other individuals that come into the room, we must leave our ideologies at the door and come into this space and identify or see each other as the descendants of those individuals who were placed in that captivity. Now, again, when we start to look at melanated people, there's a reality to the brothers and sisters from the motherland who are here. There's the reality of the brothers and sisters who were already here. I'm descendant of Choctaw and Cherokee. but also I'm aware of my ancestral relationship to the continent of Africa. So we were already here. So again, we tend to allow the visionary things to keep us from focusing on what the real issue is. And so as I start to have this conversation, I just think we need to understand that what unifies us as a monolithic group of people is that the same system that is that disrupted our natural divine human potential of our ancestors, the same system that is doing it to us. So I want to go on that. Um, the question that just popped up on the screen. Uh, what would you say?
What would you say are the most important initial steps to beginning the process of healing the community?
Okay. Um, the the process I would say is going to have to be um, the importance of a rites of passage. When we think about um, the human experience in every civilized society had some form of a rites of passage. Even this one that we live in under capitalism and Christianity has it's not a well structured rites of passage, but they have one. But I think for us to heal, we have to recognize we have to create a institution that that governs the human experience from these particular stages of development. So we say from the womb to the tomb, there has to be some form of a rites of passage so that individuals are being equipped at these particular stages of their development to understand what is a moral compass, to understand what rituals and traditions are, to understand what is the role of a man, what is the role of a woman, what is the role of a mother, what is the role of a father. So there's reality to the healing is helping individuals acquire the necessary skill sets to function at these particular stages of their development so they have an understanding of what their purpose is. So rites of passage gives you an understanding of purpose. And it eliminates the concept of self. So the concept of self again, yes, we are individuals, but we are a communal people. We are social beings. So self is connected to family. Family is connected to community. Community is connected to society. Society is connected to the world, and the world is connected to the universe. So helping or educating our people to understand that self has a socialization component to it. So that would be my response to how do we begin to heal.
Ashe, what are the roles of the youth and the roles of the elders? And I want to expand on this question. I also want to bring in, because you are a licensed psychologist, the impact systematic racism had on the roles that we're currently being knocked out of. So if you can expand as far as how has systematic racism affected our minds and the roles that we should be playing?
Okay. And I'm a licensed clinical psychotherapist.
Psychotherapist, okay.
Yeah, and that's fine. I mean, I haven't necessarily got the degree of a psychologist, but I got the skill sets of that. Dr. Baba McLean is a clinical psychologist, so he's went further to get those credentials. But the question about the role of what has happened to us, when you start to talk about internalized racism, internalized racism has created a duality of consciousness in us. And that's what Du Bois, when you start reading, when Du Bois was talking about a duality of consciousness, he was talking about in the context that we are descendants of the original people who are melanated people, but we have been beaten into a mindset of functioning as a European. So their duality of consciousness, we constantly going back and forth between having an African or Black identity, but we being forced to function in a social construct that is designed for Europeans. And so currently, when you start talking about misdiagnoses, the misdiagnosis of schizophrenia and bipolar for Black people or descendants of Africans or indigenous people is that we are constantly having to navigate through two realities. And so that alters our original personality traits. We acquire personality configurations. There's a personality configuration of function within this construct of this European male social construct. So a lot of us deal with the duality of that. So the role of the elders is to pass down culture. And so right now, family, we're not functioning out of a unified culture. And I'm saying it again, we're not functioning out of a unified culture. So when you think
Ashe,
about, excuse
Ashe,
me,
Ashe.
so when you think about every other ethnic group that came after us, and we were already here, once again, they came from a landmass. So they don't come to America. They fall into the assimilation of being white or black or Latino, but they identify themselves to a landmass. So when Germans come to America, they call themselves German, the German American. They don't say that they white. When Africans come, whatever country that they coming from, they don't come to America and say that they black. They say what tribe they from, and they say what culture they from. The Mexicans don't call themselves yellow people. The original indigenous Native American, Choctaw, Cherokee, Blackfoot, Navajo, they don't call themselves red people. They identify themselves by a tribe or a landmass. So I'm saying for us, when we call ourselves black or black American, that's not a culture. It's something that has been ingrained in us. So again, the elders, when we start talking about a council of elders, the elders help us or should help us. They should pass down the culture. Now, what happened to us up until the 60s, we had culture. We practiced culture. I can remember sitting on the couch and my feet couldn't touch the ground. We watching the news. When something happened, everybody in the room said, "Did no black man do that?"
Mm-hmm.
Did no black man do that? So there's a reality to what happened once we assimilated into this European culture. Once we integrated into the European culture, we gave up our identity. So we started to take on, and you can see it now, the behaviors that we are seeing in our children, they ain't born that way. The behaviors that we are seeing in our people, that's a social engineering through a cultural orientation that is outside of our original being. So to answer your question about what and how internalized racism has impacted us, I'm gonna say there's various factors that we got to take into consideration.
Ashe, that's true, and that brings up the next question. As far as these other factors, what would you say is the biggest challenges to the movement, and how can we overcome them?
I think I ain't gonna say I think the issue is we turn our children over to the enemy to educate. I'm gonna smile to not cry, but but the insanity of that we wake up and drop our children off in these spaces expecting the people who are the descendants of our captives and even some of our own people. I ain't gonna put everything on the European man or the white man. Some of our own people are our worst enemy. So I'm not blaming everything on the European, but there's a reality to we have to take ownership of the education and the socialization of our children, so that they can be equipped to deal with the systemic structural institutional racism. So when we start talking about a movement, the first movement is for us to take over the ownership of educating ourselves and educating our children to equip them to be able to navigate through this hostile environmental and social conditions that are created by the legislation, laws, and policies of systemic structural institutional racism. And I think a lot of times we do our children a disservice because we think just because they got out of high school and we send them to college, they're not equipped to deal with it with that institution the way that we think they should because we haven't equipped them. So that'll be my answer or response to that question.
That's a strong response, and you're right. We are handing our children to be molded by people who don't have their best interests at heart. And I had to laugh because that's a really pain. I mean, I'm a father. I was a single father for a very long time, got remarried, and that's a hard reality to see.
Yeah, it's painful, man. It really is painful. I mean, and I'm acting right. Normally I cuss y'all, but I'm acting right because I don't want Queen Mother Lizzie to hear me cussing. I'm gonna act right, Queen Mother. Yeah.
And so these type of deconstructive, harmful things that are happening in our communities keep us from galvanizing, keep us from coming together in a powerful way. So how do we keep people from taking advantage of our community? And sometimes like you were saying earlier, sometimes it's the people and leaders that are within the community, and then there's the people outside of our community preying on us for financial benefits, financial gains.
Right. I'm just of the mind, and once again, I'm 60, so I'm a 60s baby. My observation is capitalism and Christianity together in the context of this economic and political system, it breeds a dysfunctional and maladaptive behavior in our leadership and in us. I'm gonna say that again.
Mm-hmm.
Capitalism, the combination of capitalism, Christianity, the economic and political system breeds a dysfunctional and maladaptive personality configuration in our leadership and in us. And what I mean by that, the reason that a lot of our elders and our ancestors' movements were dismantled because certain people amongst us is for sale.
Right.
So there's a reality to how much money I can show an individual in the movements when you look back and those, and even and like I said, I'm not a Bible thumper, but even Judas was amongst Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a reality to how we respond in our relationship to money, and money creates a individualistic, materialistic individual. You become individualistic, but you also become materialistic. And so capitalism does not see the humanity in the next human being. Because now I'm looking at the next human being to see what can I get or how can I use that individual for my gain.
Right.
So we have to understand there's a reality to what type of personality configuration we are acquiring by participating in capitalism. Now, once again, I'm not trying to disrespect or offend anybody as it relates to Christianity, but the Christianity that was taught to us is not the Christianity that our ancestors were practicing. So we have to deal with the reality of the Christianity that we practice benefits capitalism. And the benefits it gives, it puts one man in the position of this space. And once again, his ego cultivates the space, and now everything, the game has changed to this prosperity pimping preaching.
This is true.
Everything is about the money. So the reality of when we start talking about who's taking advantage of us, we got to look at internally who's taking advantages of us and externally who's taking advantage of us. Now, when we start to think about from an economic perspective, we have to go into our communities and have community forums and educate our people about the reality of who and where they spend their money, and who and where they spending their money with, and the reality of do we get or is that being reciprocated back. Now, the only thing other ethnic groups come and buy from us in our community is they come in and rape and rob our babies. They gonna pay for that, and then come down and buy some drugs. And every now and then, if you got a good restaurant, they come to your restaurant. But if you selling clothes, ain't no Chinese coming to your store to buy clothes. If you selling hair, wig stuff, ain't no Chinese coming in there, Koreans coming in there buying anything from you. They ain't coming to spend no money at no black-owned corner store. So we got to start educating our people about the reality of how they spend their money, where they spend their money, and how can we galvanize that. And I remember listening to Dr. Claude Anderson a while back, and he was saying how many times the dollar rotates in Jewish communities, the Korean communities, and it may rotate 7, 8, 10 times, but in our community, it only rotates one time. So we got to educate our people, and also we got to educate our people about the reality of these corner stores and the gas stations, and understanding that we have to boycott entertaining or engaging with these individuals who don't look like us and spending our money with them. So when the conversation about, or the question about taking advantage of our community, first we got to hold those individuals who look like us accountable, and then we got to educate our people about where they spending their dollar at.
Ashe, and I look at this figure every now and then because it's such a huge figure about the spending power of African Americans here on the continent. It's over billions, hundreds of billions of dollars. We spend, last year, said we spent almost $2 trillion. And I don't even know how to count that high, right? We spent over $2 trillion. And like you were saying, it's not circulating within the community. We do have millionaires, we have a few billionaires, but the money is not circulating within the community. Right. And that's very unfortunate that we're enriching our oppressors.
Right. I had the concept of let me see if I can go get there. What I was going with that. When we start thinking about our relationship to this idea and experiment called America, and I say that for a reason, y'all. When them European males came out of Europe, they was coming out of Europe, and it was called their manifest destiny. And in the manifest destiny was to come out of Europe and conquer and destroy. That's what they purpose was. So when we start to think about this idea that we are functioning in our relationship to it, again, I don't care what you call yourself. When you get pulled over by the police, they ain't asking you who your pastor is. They ain't asking you if you a Mason. They ain't asking if you a poodle, a dog, an elephant. They ain't asking you none of that. So we got to get in the mindset in this system, in systemic structural institutional racism, we are a monolithic group. The black dollar is the black dollar. That's they don't talk about us, the Christian dollar. They don't talk about us, the Catholic dollar. The black dollar is the black dollar. And then the next thing is the black vote. Now it's the black dollar and the black vote. That's our relationship to this ideal and experiment called America. So either we Democrat or we Republican, but it's still the black vote. So our ability to start recognizing our relationship to this idea and experiment called America, how you may see yourself or the group that you with, but the government sees us in two categories, and we got to start understanding that. So again, those two things should unify us, especially since that's how they see us. And once again, I'm not making this up. This ain't my opinion. This ain't my perspective. This is the reality of the time that we living in. Anytime they change legislation, laws, and policies, it affects us because we still identify ourselves as being part of the Constitution.
Right.
That's how we see ourselves. So again, part of what I'm attempting to do in my time, and once again, I'm thankful to have this opportunity to break bread, is help us reconstruct, just like the post-Maafa Reconstruction. We got to reconstruct our relationship to this ideal and experiment called America. And we can't do that if we come in the room and just because you a Christian and I'm a Muslim or I'm a Hebrew Israelite or I'm the Nation of Islam, we can't get along. That we got to move. That's we that it's going to require us. It's called emotional maturity and emotional competencies to move out of these ideologies that we function in.
Reading here at the bio, some of the things that you said reminded me about the bio. So I had to go back in here. And it says Mr. Watkins has worked with diverse cultures, ethnic groups, demographics. Now, this is the part that really stood out to me. It is Mr. Watkins has a level of expertise, extensive range in his theoretical approach and orientation. Can you speak more about that?
And that goes back to when I was just sharing earlier about my experience with re-educating myself in the context of the getting a master's degree in educational psychology I was from Milwaukee by the way of Indianola, Mississippi. But getting my education at one of those universities, a European university, what I experienced there, learning about Freud and Adler and Jung, and that stuff don't work in our community. So again, my theoretical orientation now is grounded in the teachings of the research of again African Black developmental psychology in out of those individuals that I named. I mean, Bobby Wright, again, Francis Cress Welsing, James White. It's a number of brothers. Linda James Myers. So just to name a few. But once I started reading their research and the word empirical research, it just gave me another level of conscious and awareness that that gives me a level of expertise to code switch. And even right now, man, and sisters, I provide a lot of services to a range of people, and I tell them I'm doing hood therapy. I'm not talking. I mean, I use CBT, ACT. I use it, but on the hood therapy piece I'm using is again. Sometimes we just need to hear the truth. Sometimes we just need to keep it 100. And so I'm not always talking clinical. I can use those clinical terms, but my theoretical orientation is I'm a 60-year-old Black man who ain't never had no handcuffs put on him. I didn't have some encounters with the system. I woke up early. I come through the era where I got up in the morning. I'm from the last generation of seeing Black parents go to work every day. Because once was it Bill Clinton? No, it wasn't Bill Clinton. Whichever one of them signed that NAFTA Act that moved all the manufacturing and industrial jobs out of the Black community in the 60s. And then they pumped in, brung in the crack and like more of heroin. We lost ourselves in that. So I witnessed.
It might have been Nixon.
Yeah, I'm witnessed that. So again, my experience of being able to navigate through those circumstances. When I was coming through, I was, the gang I was with was Trey 3 Mob, so I'm not sitting there saying I'm no saint. And it was about 25 of us. Only 5 of us made it out. The other 20, they collateral damage. So there's a reality for those of us who was able to navigate through this. And then, crack was the first drug that made Black women abandon their children.
Right.
Something about that crack. But because we saw sisters doing heroin, I mean, they took care of their children. They still took care of their children. We saw sisters who was alcoholics. They still took care of their children. But when that crack hit the game, hit the street, sisters, that we knew something was wrong then because they started abandoning their children for that one. And so now that's why we witnessing grandparents, great-grandparents raising their children, because a lot of things that have happened in our community, it was systematically designed for it to do that. So when we start thinking about those things from that perspective, again, I just bring in a lens based on being a Black male who was able to navigate through the game, and now I'm able to talk the way I talk.
Right, and you were saying you brought up code switching, and you brought up the education and the empirical information. Um, is it? Would you say that it's necessary to unlearn some of the things and relearn it as what it is in reality?
Yes, yes, and I'm glad you bring it up. Dr. Naim Akbar wrote, I think his book is called the Akbar Papers. Um, but what he's talking about is from a psychological perspective, understanding how we have been constructed to function. There's a construction in our socialization, and that socialization has created a personality configuration in us individually as well as collectively. And so, in order for us to understand that, we have to understand the construction of that. Now, what you just mentioned about unlearn is the deconstruction. So there's a reality to deconstructing how we are constructed through cognitive intervention or cognitive restructuring skills. Now, there are some skill sets or some techniques that are part of the European psychology that are useful, but it depends on how you use those techniques and when you use those techniques. So there's a reality to the construction of thought, and then there's reality of the deconstruction of thought and thinking. And then what do you replace that with? And we have to replace that with the reality of the Maafa. We have to replace what we have been taught with the Maafa, because the Maafa connect us to our ancestors, and it'll connect us to the sacrifices and the commitments that they made for us to be in the position that we in. So now we functioning in reality. Because if you ain't functioning out of the reality of what the Maafa is and what our ancestors sacrificed for us to even be able to do what we doing right now, they sacrificed for this. And so many of us have gotten complacent and egotistical about where we at and how we got there. So when you start looking at it from that perspective, yes, my brother, we have to re-educate ourselves, but we also have to re-educate ourselves with actual and factual information that is grounded in what our ancestors, what we continue to struggle for to this very day. We struggling for the same things they were struggling for in 1856, the Emancipation Proclamation. We struggling for the same thing. And we was insane to even accept the emancipation. That don't even make sense. And for us to even keep playing that game with emancipation, ain't nobody you freedom. You got to fight for that. Mm-hmm. That's why they still mad at our Haitian brothers and sisters, because our Haitian brothers and sisters whooped their butt down there. So even to this day, Haitian, that's why Haiti is being treated the way they treated, because they whooped them Europeans' butt.
Shay, earlier you brought up Sankofa.
Yes.
And the importance of Sankofa. A lot of our audience may not know what that reference is.
Okay. Sankofa just basically means to return or go back and get it. Mm. So to return to we have to return to our original divine beings. So Sankofa is a lifestyle. Sankofa is a practice. Sankofa, it gives you a foundation to build on based on our relationship to our ancestors. So, and a lot of people give Brother Karinga, I mean, they was in a room having some conversation in the 60s, and Brother Karinga, I guess he was the first one out the room to get to start Kwanzaa. So that's kind of a joke, because they people kind of mad about it. But the Kwanzaa, the 7 principles of Kwanzaa are universal principles. So there's a reality to what those principles mean in the practice of. But also those principles are connected to Ma'at and in the 42 principles of Ma'at. So we got to educate our people on what the principles of Kwanzaa are, the lifestyle, but where they come from is Ma'at. And Ma'at, again, governs the spirit. So when we start talking about spiritual development, our ancestors created practices and rituals to help individuals acquire the moral compass to function as a being. So Sankofa, again, those of us who understand that, we recognize that we are attempting to return back to our original being, which is pursuing our divine human potential.
Ashe, ashe. So there are tools that are necessary in order for us to make any type of advances. And you can't get around the financial issue, the financial problem, in order to, help the community. Well, in order for something to be systematic, it can't be singly directional. It needs to be funding coming in that's being used for the proper reasoning. So how do we finance the movement?
I think we have a opportunity zone at this time in our story. I mean, you got history, and then you got our story. We have young brothers and sisters who are in entertainment and who are in athletics. Some of them have received those phone calls, and some of them have not, based on what type of conversations they have. And I hope everybody know what I mean by that phone call.
Right.
Because Kendrick Lamar, once he got the phone call, he went blast with it. When they called messing with that little brother got on. He went on. He got it in. So that's the way all of them should be. But that phone call is going to differentiate who's going to make an investment in the community. So I think, again, if we create an agenda, an indigenous, native, African agenda, and we present that to these young brothers and sisters who are interested in making an investment in the communities that they play football in, that they play basketball in, that they play base. If we present an agenda to them, I think we have an opportunity for them to support what we're doing. Now, the other piece with this agenda, there has to be an accountability. And what I mean by accountability, yes, we have a history of allowing our own people to steal money, then they can come back and sit at the table with us. We can't continue to allow that. So once we make this agenda, there has to be a code of conduct that comes with this agenda. And in that agenda, point blank, if you steal this money, something's going to happen to you. If we put you the treasurer, over this money, and something happens to the money, something's going to happen to you. And that has to be point blank. Because, I mean, even with, what was the pastor with the Target piece? What was his name? Anybody know?
I'm not sure. I know.
Well, anyway, he's the one that was leading the boycott on Target. And they boycotted for a period of time, but he got offered 2.5 million or 2 million, and he stopped boycotting.
What?
So again, I'm saying at some point we can't keep allowing people to do that. So when you start talking about the reality of from a financial perspective, I really think we have an opportunity, especially with this Project 25 and how this Trump administration is doing what they do. Our young people see this. They see it. Now, again, how can we as elders, or how can we as those who are in the movement, how can we create an agenda to see if these young brothers and sisters will support? Again, I just think we need to take ownership of the education of our children. We need higher learning education for our elders who are retired, who are physicians, who are architects, who are lawyers, who are psychologists, where they can go and teach and bring all of that wealth into a location to educate our young people, to move them into the 21st century so they'll be able to compete. Because the reality of it is, what this Project 2025 and this Trump administration, what they are saying to us, we're through taking care of y'all. Y'all gonna have to learn how to do for self. And we trying to hold on to this relationship. This relationship is abusive. And so our leadership now, they need to understand it don't make no difference who we vote, how we vote. That game is over. They're saying to us, they through taking care of us. Y'all gonna have to learn how to take care of yourselves. And we like little children. We trying to stay in the house. We kicking our feet. We trying to hold on. But he like, no, we can barely take care of our own people.
I say, you know, and that brings up another point, a reference to the motherland. There's a lot of things that are going on there, you know, with Abraham Traore, unifying the different passports and money.
Yeah.
And then a week and a half ago or so, the UN acknowledged the Maafa. And I've seen some controversy here. What are your words in reference to that new decision?
It's been long overdue, for sure. It's been long overdue. The reality that so many countries and individuals from those countries who are in leadership to acknowledge that it puts some weight on the conversation about what is owed to us, and how do we go about recouping what was stolen from us. So I think that's a beautiful. I think that's beautiful. The reality of what this ideal and an experiment called America, about them giving us reparations. They have not given reparations to any ethnic group that they still at war with. So I think we kind of immature and naive to think that they gonna give us reparations because they still at war with us. So that's not going to happen. But I think again, what is happening on the continent of Africa, the explosion of consciousness and awareness of our people on the continent gives us an opportunity to engage with them from a commerce perspective, but also even to go back home. Now there's a reality to this, the beginning of this process, and then we now, the elements of the puppets in their environment. And so us going back there right now in the game and being part of that space is that, but then the reality of it is they are reconstructing their governments, their political system. So the reality being in there at the ground of that, and then once again going back later, it depends on where you at and your retirement at your stage of development, what that means and what that is. So I think this is a good, I think the potential to have relationships with Africa and the opportunity to do commerce and do exchange of, because we here in America are the most educated, skilled, some of them, I'm gonna say, innovative people on the planet. So we bring a wealth of knowledge and experience with dealing with Europeans. When we go back to the motherland, now our people in the motherland are as brilliant as well, but I think the edge that we have on them is we have a different relationship when understanding this internalized racism, and the experience of colonialism has had a different impact on their mental health.
Mm-hmm.
So our ability to articulate what internalized racism is from the perspective of capitalism and Christianity is one perspective, but then the reality of going back with Catholic Christianity and colonialism and imperialism, that's a different experience. So again, I just think those of us who are in the fields of science, being able to have exchanges with the brothers and sisters there, again, it just strengthen our ability to reconstruct our relationship as this transition of power that's happening on the planet, this new world order.
Yes, that's a powerful statement, very powerful statement. Yes, indeed. So that was the final question that I had personally for you here. We don't have your contact information on our screen here.
Okay.
How can people reach you?
My phone number is 602 910 9153. Once again, 602-910-9153. My email is wakeupprogram, all one word, wakeupprogram at gmail.com. Wakeupprogram at gmail.com.
All right. Does anyone have anything else that they want to bring up here while we still have the brother Watkins on the line?
I just want to
Fabian?
thank you for sharing the knowledge with us, and also I wrote your number down because I'm like, where do we go from here? And also the trainings that you do is very important for us as melanated people to really move forward. So again, gratitude to you and Ashe. And how do you spell that word? Sakafa?
Sankofa.
Yes.
Okay. Sankofa. Sankofa. All
Yeah,
right.
there's a lot of information that needs to be, that we all need to have some historical training. And I've been privileged to be around some of the elders. And as a child, I was always interested in what they had to say. So I've had some background and training and education from an African centered perspective. But man, it's so important to unlearn and relearn from the African centered, because even if the logic is sound, 1 + 1 = 2, the logic is sound. If you're looking at it from the wrong lens, it's not going to be productive in your personal life. So I just wanted to end it by saying that, and just really thank you and appreciate you for coming on. You're welcome to come on at any time.
Thank you,
And
brother.
I know what you invited the co-panelists here. What's your relationship with the co-panelists?
I met Baba last weekend, and he's a clinical psychologist, and he is. I mean, if you don't mind, can he share who he is?
I'm
Baba,
sorry?
yeah, could you share who you are, brother? Share. I know he's been in the Phoenix. He's a psychologist here in Phoenix.
Oh, sure. Okay. First of all, it's a privilege to listen to this discussion. High order stuff, deep stuff. I'm a clinical and forensic psychologist. I've been working in Arizona since 1986. I'm 71 years old, so I've seen some things. But it's so important to be connected to the context that we are working with in order to really understand what's happening. So again, privileged to listen to this conversation. Thank you for Brother Alfonso. Thank you for inviting me to witness this conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Baba, for being here.
May,
All
may
right.
I, may I, let me just throw this last thought in. What do you feel, um, well, how do you feel about what's going on today in relation to us as Black people? I'm seeing a lot happening within our community now. I mean, all over the country. Although I'm thinking that most people don't realize that, but I think we are doing a fantastic job of re-educating, rethinking, who we are and how do we move forward collectively. I see and hear a lot of that going on, but I don't think a lot of us are aware of what we are doing for ourselves today, if that makes sense.
Yeah, Queen Mother. I think you on point in the context that there's a lot of work that is being done that is not getting. I mean, the lights ain't no. They're not gonna show that. They gonna keep showing the deficits in our community. They're never going to glorify or recognize the positive things that are happening in our community. That's going to be us for us to change the narrative. So having a platform like this, post Maafa
Absolutely.
Reconstruction,
I
gives us
say.
the opportunity to take
Yeah.
ownership of the narrative.
Ashe, ashe, ashe.
Yeah. So again, I think you on point, Queen Mother, and again, I just think we've gotten away from being able to engage in conversations in an environment where we have to socially interact with one another. I think we're losing a lot of soft skills in our ability to come into a space and have conversation and practice emotional maturity, practice collective critical analysis, practice critical consciousness, practice intellectual conflict resolution. So I think there's a reality to going when we have these spaces, having individuals that can start just the terms that I just threw out. There's a practice that comes with that,
Mhm.
and helping individuals acquire the skill sets to sit in a room and be part of a think tank. And if we having a conversation about law, that's all we talking about. You can't take the conversation to economics because that's what you do. So there's an intellectual discipline that comes with creating these think tanks, and that's the purpose of the Council of Elders, is to create these think tanks where elders can go into a space. And if you're education, that's what you talk about in that space, education. If you're a politician or former politician, that's what you talk about in that space. If you are an attorney of law, that's what you talk about in that space. So I'm gonna get the information to y'all for the next. I want to do an in-person introduction to the Council of Elders. And right now, again, I'm working with Grassroots Bookstore to see if they have a Saturday available for me to do it there. And if they don't have anything this month, I might have to find another location. But I'm hoping they have some. So I'm still working with them to get so that we can come into a space and I can do a PowerPoint presentation on the Council of Elders, the purpose of the Council of Elders, and how do we begin to facilitate their process.
I like that. I like that. Please keep us
Yes.
informed.
And let's shout out Grassroots Bookstore for sure. Grassroots, Brother Ali,
Absolutely.
Yes,
Brother
yes,
Henry. Yes, Brother True. Grassroots, shout out to you for all the work that you've done in the community.
yes.
And that being said, we're going to go ahead and conclude this conference. But again, join us every Wednesday, 6 p.m. Arizona time. And we'll definitely love to have you back, sir.
Yes. Thank you. Peace and blessings, family.
Ashe, ashe, ashe.
Ashe.
Peace, peace, peace.
Peace.